Youth of Purpose.
A very good evening, and of course you are welcome to U24, and this is your usual program, Youth of Purpose. Today we have a very interesting conversation. Uganda has been privileged to be the host for the Afro-Arab Youth Congress 2025. And of course it has had or attracted a number of countries under the theme Unifying Youth for Peace, Security and Prosperity. And of course we all know that tomorrow we shall be equally celebrating 63 years of independence of Uganda. So we shall be able to understand how independent have we come, or if we are independent. But also joining me is a very beautiful panel of two gentlemen and one lady. And I will allow them to introduce themselves, starting it off with my immediate neighbor, Okot.
Thank you. Thank you so much, host Treslin and our viewers. My name is Okot Francis. I am one of the panelists for tonight's discussion, and in due time we will talk further. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Okot, for joining us. Okot is the 34th UNSA president of Uganda. Linda.
Oh, thank you so much, Treslin. So I'm very happy to be part of this show and also to talk about the youth voices. And I'm very happy to be here, and I'm very happy to be here, and I want to be part of this conversation.
Emanzi.
Yes, thank you so much for hosting me. My name is Mujisha Emanzi, and I look forward to a very cool conversation today about youth, the Afro Youth Summit that is happening in Kampala, but also Uganda at 63, what it means for us as a nation, the implications that it has upon us, the young people, and the next way forward for the development of our country. I thank you so much.
Talking about Uganda, we've been lucky to host a number of international organizations, but also conferences. And I think last year made it quite a wholesome with very many of them. But particularly this year, and particularly the ongoing Afro-Arab Youth Congress at Munyonyo from the 7th of October to the 10th of October. Very many young people across the world have joined to champion their voices, to talk about politics, talk about economics, but also talk about mental health and all challenges of how do young people get included in the conversation. And Okot Francis here is one that has been or is a participant of that conference. So to get it off from you, why are we having the Afro-Arab Youth Congress, and what does it mean for a young person out there in Gulu and in Bushenyi?
Well, thank you so much, Treslin, again. I come from Gulu, and I've seen a number of the people from the north and the region where I come from are part of this congress in the program. I think Uganda is hosting these following Egypt and Sudan that has hosted in the previous years, and also to take it from where you've highlighted, these congress, it's supposed to be happening in May. It was supposed to happen in May this year, but seeing it come to this point and collide with Uganda's 63rd independence celebration, it is not just a coincidence. And I think majority of the young people will have a feel of how we celebrate independence in Uganda, because you have a host of delegates from Africa and Arab world. Now, the theme for this year's Congress is on amplifying youth voices for peace, security and prosperity. But we've seen a number of young people that have joined from different backgrounds: the National Youth Council, the student organizations, youth-led organizations, international organizations, and even youth under political parties, multi-party youth forum. And this brings to me that these 4 days of engagement, youth have opportunities to share knowledge, youth have the opportunity to learn from each other, youth have the opportunity to really build constructive dialogue around issues that are being discussed. For example, issues of economics, issues of AI and technology. So to me, as Uganda, as Uganda, a country that has hosted many international conferences. Last year, we've seen the Non-Aligned Movement Conference hosted in Uganda. And this year alone, we have hosted the African Regional Summit for Sustainable Development. And now, again, we are hosting the Afro-Arab Youth Congress. This is not just economic opportunities for the hospitality sector and social service sector to make money, but it's also a moment to sell the beauty of Uganda to the outside world. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Okot, for that preamble in terms of what it means for young people to be part. And I'm also happy that you mentioned that there are kind of a number of young people from Gulu that have taken part. Usually when we have these conferences, you find it is Kampala-based young youth leaders that partake in them. But I think it's a plus where we have young people equally from the rural areas be part of these conversations. Linda, from a perspective of a young lady who hails from a Beam district, and also who voices the voices of the young women right at the grassroots level, do you think that the Afro-Arab Summit, particularly in a way that it approaches it of up-bottom instead of bottom-up, do you feel like you as an individual, your voice for the majority young people in the rural communities can easily be recognized within the summit, or get it to what is intended to make sure that this conference represents even those young people in the grassroots?
Okay, thank you so much, Jocelyn. This Afro-Arab Youth Conference with the theme of amplifying youth voices for peace, unity, and prosperity. I think it is very important for the young people. It cannot obviously get everyone from the grassroots, but as we as leaders, in particular, let's say Karamoja, let's say in Acholi, in Lango, we as the youth leaders, we come forward, we come all the way to Kampala. As you can see, it's not only the Kampala-based people, it's bringing people from all other parts of the region, of the country. We come so that we can amplify our youth voices from our people because by the time our people have sent us to represent you at the district level, they believe in you to amplify the voices directly to the stakeholders who are supposed to listen to them. And I think that we as the leaders, we are the ones supposed to talk for the young people. We are the ones supposed to bring the issues that are affecting the young people. Let's say, for example, in Abim or Karamoja as a whole region, we are having issues of employment. We are having issues of domestic violence on women. We are having a lot of issues of child marriages. It is us us as the leaders to make sure we speak out for the people at the grassroots level. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Linda, for that. Emanzi, as someone who has, I believe, not been a direct participant, but someone who is interested and has been following how the conference is going, from your own perspective, what preamble would you give in what the Afro-Arab Summit means to young people, particularly within the political spaces, but also representation in terms of inclusion within decision-making and policies?
Well, thank you. For starters, I think everything that has the youth of Africa coming together to sit, share ideas, and come up with resolute action points, to me is not only revolutionary, but way overdue. Why? I say this because if you look at most of the upheavals that Africa has met for the last 200 years, it's mostly been because of our conclave mentality. Everybody thinking in their own cocoon, you know? And civilization as we know it does not advance when individuals act or behave independent of other people in the society, regardless of their different social strata, demographics, and the gender dynamics. What I want to acknowledge from a humble opinion is that Africa especially the youth of Africa, have for a long time wanted to have a real borderless interaction amongst themselves, especially when we come to ideas of sub-Saharan Africa vis-a-vis the Arab world. It should be noted with a long face that there are some Arab countries in Africa that do not identify with other African countries, especially those in sub-Saharan Africa. And as a matter of fact, they're not part of the African Union. Okay? So, and it's not news. It's been like this for the last couple of years and decades. So to me, having the Afro-Arab Youth Summit, more so held in Uganda, is reflective of the new space of thinking that Africa has for long been negating. And the reason I say this is right here where we are seated in on the studios of UBC. We have just less than 1 kilometer, we have what we call Nasser Road. Nasser Road was named after Abdul Nasser, the former revolutionary of, is it Algeria? I forgot the name, one of the Arab countries. Just behind us here, we have another road of something Said, right? So what does this show you? It shows that there has been collaborations, right? But these collaborations have not been mainstream, right? So now that we are having these conversations, more so in a place or at a time where Uganda needs that global, what's the word? Global, what's the word? Like the world needs to see us, right? We need that, yes, we need that global recognition, because for a long time, Africa and Uganda, to be specific, when you would double click on Uganda, the first thing that would come, disease, war, children starving. Now, we have a good chance using such conferences, events, to propel Uganda's market and bolster our market potential. 1, 2, come up with these resolutions as master plans for us young people to stick to and hold our leaders accountable. But 3, and most importantly, is the aspect of breaking the barrier of the Arab world vis-a-vis us in sub-Saharan Africa. Because now if you look at the demographics of the youth statistics, 62% of the girls and boys that are employed in most Arab countries come from sub-Saharan Africa, and to be precise, East Africa. So that means we need to have these conversations, not as a formality, as a matter of urgency. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Emanzi, for that. And also, I pick from your conversation in terms of not just us having the conferences, but also making sure that our ideas actually get to the table. To get to your quote, in 1962, 63 years ago, Uganda is declared or given its independence. 63 years later, from your perspective, the issues that were there before independence and the time we are in after our independence, what stands out for you, especially in terms of achievements, but also where maybe we are still lagging behind?
Thank you so much, Treslin. And picking up from where I stopped in my earlier presentation on having the Afro-Arab Congress, not a coincidence, colliding with Uganda's 63rd independence.
Yes.
Now, looking back at our shoulders, none of us in the studio was born by that time. So we have just got to know what happened pre-independence and after independence, before we were born, because we read books, we have gone to school, we must have learned from our president, because every time the president speaks, the president will start way back in history, way back in time, before bringing what happens now. And such words are not just to take time. is very instrumental because we learn from that. Now, what Uganda has gained, or what are we celebrating in the 63 years? To me, I see Uganda has gained so much. Let me use the word gain because we are protecting the gains. If we are protecting the gains, if we are protecting the gains, now to me, I approach that question in different angles. One, politically, where are we right now, and where were we before independence, or even a few years after independence? There were African COP until 1986, when the first 5-year development plan was given to Uganda by the British Protectorate. That was just a plan designed like a time bomb for Ugandans to go into a war. For example, Uganda and Buganda was supposed to reclaim the lost territories, like the Bugangaizi. That sparked war. It was not just a moment of saying, hey, that is my country, bring it back. Between the Bunyoro Gitara and the Buganda Empire. That was war. It came after independence. Later we come to the constitutional crisis, the KY alliance, the 1986 war that sparked in northern Uganda. Before that, the NRA revolution that gave birth to a new Uganda. So to me, I see between 1962 and now, before the coming of NRM or NRA in power, there's been a lot of coups, there's been a lot of instability, because there's not been any government that has been in power for just even 15 years after independence. But right now, after more than 3 decades of one government, the government that I know, and I wish the government all of us know, we were born in it, we are growing in it, we are learning from it, we are leading even in this government. So this tells me, like a person like me from northern Uganda, even when President Museveni has been in power from 1986, there has been war in that part of the region until 2006, 2007. So right now, in the 63rd year of our celebration of Uganda's independence, I see a lot to celebrate politically. There is stability, there is birth of multi-party system where people have the free will to come in any political party they want. For example, me, I came under the NRM in the primary elections. But that aside, a lot happened. I am not having the flag. But that doesn't mean there is no political freedom. There is political freedom too, socially. Before that, Ugandans were refugees. Yes, Ugandans were refugees even after that during the time of COP. But because of the stability, right now we have more than 1 million refugees in Uganda. So that does not only come with social services, but it also comes with development. Because people are employed to work with the refugees. We have a lot to celebrate. Now if we come economically, by the time Uganda was getting its independence, we were at 0.52 billion US dollars as our GDP. But now we are over 50 plus billion dollars as our GDP. So economically, we have developed. We have seen even infrastructural wise, we have developed. We had less than 1,000 tarmac roads. But now we have more than 2,000 and plus over 3,000 plus gravels. That is Maram Road. So in terms of kilometers, I measure that as something to celebrate. But even if so, there are things that we were not seeing in the past, but we're seeing now. For example, we didn't have AI, we didn't have technology and all those things, but this has come right now. But even when it has come, you see, in development, me, I'm a student of development studies. They said the cost of development, much as Uganda has developed in the 63 years of post-independence, it has also come with some cost, like moral decay, in a way. There has been a decay in the moral life of Ugandans. Where I come from, the youth and the young people that has lived beyond the war, or from the war and beyond the war, there is a culture that has been eroded, the culture of hard work. The culture of hard work has been lost. So much as we celebrate other gains, there are other parts that needs to be pulled up. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Okot, for that. And I like the fact that you brought out how you ran for an election. And, you know, most times when people lose elections, they are forced to say, this was not fair. But fair to who? But I like the fact that you're able to say, this didn't work out, but however, maybe a next step can be on. Alinda, from your perspective again, from Karamoja, and particularly that we are looking at peace, security, prosperity, and equally the aspect of socio-economic transformation, which is one of the core values that NRM fronts. How far do you think we have come in terms of achieving that?
Thank you so much. I think we have achieved a lot in terms of socio-economic development. For example, if we look at UPE, UPE was introduced in 2007. I'm also a product, by the way, of the UPE. I'm now a lawyer now. We started UPE, I think, in 2007. UPE was introduced, I think, in the entire Uganda, but it has also benefited most of the people in Karamoja. Schools have been introduced, of which people are trying to go to school. Although not all of them have come to school, but majority have been introduced to go to school, of which, if you see in terms of women, women usually used not to go to school, but now there's a great increase in the number of girl children going to school, of which this going to school is there to change mindsets. Now, if you look at, we have been having these insecurity issues where you find where most of the Karamojans, they live, their livelihood is on cattle keeping. So what they do is that they'll go and buy guns from Kenya to protect their animals and also for security amongst themselves. We have these issues of cattle raiding amongst ourselves as Karamoja because there are various tribes around, even the Turkanas of Kenya and also some people of South Sudan. So they have that, the cattle keeping people. So with education, at least most of them have decided to go to school to improve on their lives. And not just that, they've also learned that, you know, having guns it's not wise because it brings in conflicts among it and also death. So most of them have, with the NRM government, they have tried to bring back the guns, and there's that disarmament policy that has also been introduced, where they bring back their guns, and those ones who have been given the guns back, there's some sort of compensation, and also just your children and your grandchildren are given free education.
Wow, interesting. To get you, Emanzi, talking about independence, where Uganda still borrows millions and billions of money. Talking about independence in the education system, where I go to primary school, secondary school, I am taught who Hitler is. I am taught what the French Bourbon monarchy entails. Talking about independence in the aspect of artificial intelligence, but particularly if you are to, for example, look at if people outside Africa decided to take technology, WhatsApp, Twitter, Facebook, if they decided to block us away all that, how independent are we? And what more needs to be done in terms of the reflection of independence, borrowing a leaf from what is being done in Burkina Faso, and a few examples.
Thank you very much for that very complex question. For a moment, it sounded like you're setting me up.
I am not setting you up.
But yes, look. When we talk about independence, national independence, and at that for Uganda, we tap ourselves, right, on the back. Yeah, we made it. But now we have to also consider the circumstances under which we gained our freedom. I use the word freedom for independence.
Yes.
And before we finish this show, you will know why. So, 1962, we get our independence, right? during that time, there was a wave of let us free Africa now. That wave was not started in Uganda. That wave was started by a Pan-Africanist called Osofogio Kwame Nkrumah, after attaining education in Europe and learning a lot of what we call what a capitalist market system and a socialist market system can provide or can produce in the long run. So when he returned to Africa, he was like, guys, Minebetuliko is nothing. This business of being segmented, being individuals, it will not work. We need a united Africa. He mentioned that you need united Africa. On the Independence Day of Ghana, the first Independence Day of Ghana, he mentioned and said, we are not free as Ghanaians until the whole of Africa is free. Okay? And it is because of that consciousness. Africa, I want you to mark my words. It was that consciousness that was started by that gentleman that spread all over Africa to have all African countries freed, or rather, quote unquote, gained independence. So that shows you that actually Africa, when we plant a seed and we water that consciousness, it can actually give us fruit. Now, the events that happened during the time when Africa had just gotten its independence, like you mentioned, the coups, political and instabilities and all that, these things were not they were not mistakes. You cannot come here at national TV and lie the country that these were mistakes. These were not mistakes. These were predetermined concepts by our former masters, knowing what will happen. And because they knew what will happen post-independence will clear the ground for them to come back in part two, what we call capitalism and its fangs of neo-colonialism, imperialism, among others. And how? You mentioned in your question that how independent are we if we are still borrowing money for our development as a nation? Okay? Well, we are borrowing because we have to borrow, not because we want, but because we were twisted into that. Ask me how.
How?
When most African countries got their independence, okay, most of them were running on the communist economic policies, right? You remember, like in Tanzania when we had the socialism, Ujamaa. Okay, we had the same in Ghana immediately after their independence and other African countries. But then, after the instabilities that happen now, that is where the matrix gets unfolded. Remember, I told you that this was a setup. So after that kavuyo that you mentioned, post-independence, right? Yeah. These guys came in and they're like, guys, you know what? Stop fighting. We can help you build your roads, build hospitals for you, have banking systems, What we have to do, just switch from the socialist economic model to the neoliberal capitalist model. And in the neoliberal capitalist model, there is what we call the structure adjustment program, which was embraced by most sub-Saharan countries. I'll talk about Uganda. And this is where we had the massive liberalization agenda. I'm sure you've had people say, hey, these people, they have sold our country, they sold Gundi, they sold... No. It was not an individual decision. Okay? So when the powers that be encouraged Uganda through those powers that be, they have an extension, they have tools that they use. Can I tell you the name of these tools?
Yes.
International Monetary Fund, World Bank, okay? Among others. Now, for development to come, like you mentioned, how do we get grants and loans? They come through those tools. Who controls those tools? Who owns them? Where are they even headquartered? Who writes the policy for them to become multinational? So, guys, we're here on this panel, but we're trying to liberate the African mind of other youth that are watching this show to understand that many a time the things that we go through right now, we do not have to blame our immediate leaders.
That's true.
Because many a time they also just inherited something that they cannot uproot themselves. Anyway, coming back to our independence as a country, I think we have an opportunity now. Every civilization has what they call the turning point. The turning point of the past civilization was what they call the Y2K, the year 2000 compliant, when everything went digital. Now, everything is not only digital, we've gone into the new AI revolution. I call it AI revolution because it's not AI, it's not artificial intelligence independently. It is part of the bigger spectrum of what we call, there is artificial intelligence, there is machine learning, there is virtual reality, and there is augmented reality, right? So all these factors work simultaneously. Only that it is the AI your car right now because probably it's the easiest to master AI, right? But now the question should be, how do we leverage on this new digital revolution of AI to solve some of the challenges that we faced post-independence, which have been, like she mentioned, youth unemployment, gender-based violence, political instabilities, shrinking of civic spaces, among others. So now, to me, can we start having that honest conversation among ourselves as the young people? I thank you.
Having honest conversations. Oh God. Africa Union Agenda 2063, the Africa that we want. Uganda has quite a number of policies and laws. You're talking about NDPs, you're talking about Uganda Vision 2040, but also when you go to the East African level, you're talking about the East African Vision 2050, among others. In the aspect of liberation, but also aiming towards a more peaceful, more inclusive Uganda, and particularly for youth leaders. I do understand that you've been the president of the Uganda National Students Association. Different ministries. How far are we in terms of ensuring that voices of young people are not just aired, but also respected with intentionality towards prosperity?
Thank you, Treslin and viewers. And thank you, my brother, for dissecting that. I wanted to jump on in the middle when you were speaking, but I thought let him first finish. There is one aspect you talk about education. You see, we are not so much independent in terms of education, but I thank so much the concept that has been adopted by the Ministry of Education and Sport.
Yes. In
introducing the new curriculum, the competence-based. We are already one step towards decolonizing our education system. So I think, remember when the colonialists came, we had a very intact system and ways of learning, but along the way, even at the start of independence, there was a time when indigenous knowledge was ignored. You get the point. But we are well aware that we see how children grow, we see what they like to do, and we encourage them to do the things they like to do. But somehow, somewhere, I think, what about those who learn in Arabic? They are born Arabic, they speak Arabic, they study in Arabic, and we who learn in English, but you know your mother tongue is considered inferior at that level. Even at the ministry level, you speak your language at a semantic level, that is P3. After that, it's either you choose to do a Luo as a course or as a subject in Senior 4 or Luganda or Swahili, but English is a constant. To me, it has shaped us in a way where people think that eloquence and knowing English is the measure of intelligence, which is wrong. It's very wrong. There are people who might not speak English, but they can do it well in the local language. They can do it very well. When you give them a task and they internalize it, interpret it in their mother tongue, they can deliver. So why am I giving that example? It has reached a moment when we ignored our indigenous knowledge. So we need to reawaken the indigenous knowledge system, and we start from the things we know as we go to the unknown. Now, coming back to the question of how far are we in amplifying youth voices. I've been a guild president at the university, Gulu University. I was the UNTA president, president of the students in the country. And then through that, right now I'm finishing my term as the chairperson of the Uganda UN Joint Program for Adolescent and Youth. I'm finishing in December. This is a platform that has brought together 12 youth from across the country, including refugees, by the way. We have 2 refugee representatives because they're part of the population of Uganda right now. And I'm the chairperson of that committee. So we are involved in any programming with Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Water and Environment. We are involved in any program with UN agencies because this is a program that has been established by the President of Uganda from Kabale in 2023. And the 13 UN agencies, we are part and parcel of the program. When they say we, it's not just us, because that panel is a composition of the student leadership, is a composition of the National Youth Council, is a composition of refugee-led organization, is a composition of the youth-led organization, and one unique aspect is youth who are not in education, not in employment, and not in training. And we have over 51% of that in this country, and they are mostly the female youth and the girls. So this tells us that even when policies are being made, I like so much how we are thinking for ourselves. Right now, when you look back, a few months ago, what happened when the President of the United States, Donald Trump, gave an executive order of withdrawal of USAID funding. People suffered a lot.
And they are still suffering.
People are still suffering. But have we taken a minute just to think, what if this is a blessing in disguise? To start thinking on using our resources that we have around to do self-funding. Have we thought of that? Have we thought of being an entrepreneur in nature? Because COVID gave us that part of the lesson. Other people left their jobs, their 9-to-5 jobs, they're doing their own entrepreneurship. Now, Donald Trump came up on just abruptly like that. Now you ask earlier, what if Facebook is taken, WhatsApp is taken, Instagram is taken? What platforms do we have as Ugandans? Young people outside there, we talk about innovation. We are learning about innovation, AI. What are we intentional in building that can be adopted by the nation and we start using? Because a country like China doesn't use the normal Google and the things that we use. No, they don't. They develop and invent their own. But similarly, there's a common saying among the youth that what a woman can do, what a man can do, a woman can do what? Can do better. But what a Chinese can do, a Ugandan can also do better. It's just a matter of redirecting our focus. I am glad the country is going towards that direction. But as young people, most times we are involved at policy levels on consultative basis, which is wrong. Yes. We are just involved at consultation level, but it is like an emergency, because let's do it for the sake of doing it. It is not so much intentional. So my call to those in authorities, in power, but you see, when you talk about policy, it doesn't mean you should just come at a ministry level or government level. You can start from your village. That's why the National Youth Council structure starts from the village, actually. Yeah, you can start from your village. There are those village planning meetings. There are those parish planning meetings. You as an elite, as a student of Makerere, what do you do after your degree or as you study? Do you go back home to cause a change in the village, or you say, now I have reached Kampala, Kampala must fall? It's not about Kampala falling. It's about you going back home and doing something that can cause a change, even when you choose to settle in Kampala, because you will get a moment to go and inspire those at home. Sometimes your presence alone in the village will cause a change in a way. So our participation has to begin from home, from the village level, coming to the parish level, sub-county, district, national, wherever you are. Let your participation begin from there. This conversation of independence or dependence, we should not only be talking it among the elites. let's go at the grassroots level and speak about them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Okot, for that. And you highlighted quite a number of issues, but also to appreciate part of the work you people are doing. You know, young people are trying to do something, but it never gets to the camera, it never gets to the light. But what is important is to keep doing what you're doing, because it is change anyways. Linda, as we wind up our conversation, what more expectations ahead of the Afro-Arab Summit, especially that tomorrow and Friday you're still on? What more expectations do we have, but also your parting shots towards the conversation?
Thank you so much. As the young people really want to be at the forefront of these conversations. Like, they want to be included. Not that when they say Afro-Arab, like for example, you find when they say Afro-Arab Youth Congress, you find that majority of the people, the panelists, are people above the youth age. The young people need to be included. And I think it is best if the young people be included. That is how they can be engaged. That is how development, how change starts to evolve among the young people. Because if you let them get included in it, that is how they feel that they are part of the conversation, which the young people need. I think that is what they have also been advocating for today. They strongly advocated that they wanted to be they wanted to be included in the conversations. Not just to come as participants, not to be just used. They want to be in the forefront of the Congress. And also, when it comes in terms of development, the young people really want to see this generation, the Gen Z. Their mindset is a little bit different from the older generation. These people are open-minded people. They are ready to change. They are ready to be inspired, but they just need to be given a platform so that they can change. They need to be a platform to be inspired, a platform or mentors that can encourage them so that they can change in various forms. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Linda, for that. I think when you talk about young people wanting platforms, change as per se is one of the things that must shift the other from a comfortable zone. There is no change that ever happens from you just talking and then change comes its way. It means you are putting up resistance, and meaning you expect some external forces to be against that change that you desire to have. So you might not easily get onto that table where you want to be, but you can create the space yourself and be heard. Emanzi, your parting shots in regards to the conversation.
My parting shots would be that I would like to thank the government for the initiative of bringing the Afro Youth Summit to Uganda, marketing our potential, putting the young people at the forefront of these topical conversations, but also, most importantly for me, is creating avenues through which the youth of Uganda can have that one-on-one interaction and exchange noble ideas that can transform Africa for the good. Regarding the independence, happy independence tomorrow to all Ugandans. May that independence be reflected in our mind, the way we think. We gotta be independent minded. We have not to follow the flock. We are not sheep. We are Africans. Black power.
Wow. Happy independence from Emanzi. Okot, your parting shots to our conversation tonight, and anything you wish to add just in less than 2 minutes.
Thank you so much, my host for tonight's show and fellow panelists. It has really been an honor spending 1 hour with you guys. And thank you so much, the management of UBC and U24 TV for this opportunity. As a person, I am really so happy that I'm also part of this Afro-Arab Youth Congress. In one of the objectives, there's supposed to be the Kampala Declaration. So I call on the youth who are watching, let's be part of that discussion from Friday, and we see how such a policy paper can be generated. Above all, let's not just exchange contacts, but let's be intentional in the contacts we get. Let's learn from the people that are coming from different countries. Please represent Uganda very well. And about our independence, I thank so much for how far we have come. In the Christianity perspective, you would say Ebenezer. Thus far, the Lord has brought us. Uganda has really moved so far. And we thank so much the president of this country for giving the youth a platform and having a listening here. We are stubborn sometimes, but he listens to us, and he has his antidote of keeping the youth calm. So tomorrow, as we celebrate our 63 years of independence, I pray Ugandans that may peace and prosperity be our portion, not only at a country level, but at a micro level, household level. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Okot. You mentioned the Kampala Declaration. I don't know how many Kampala declarations you've had right? In terms of youth, because even a month ago we had another Kampala Declaration in terms of youth, peace and security. So my suggestion would be that you have a clear follow-up in regards to how these declarations later become part of actually achieving what you intended to declare in that declaration. But of course, I've been having Emanzi Mugisha, who is our usual panelist and Pan-Africanist. We've been having Linda Awili, who is the National Youth League chairperson, Abim District, but also a member of the National Youth Council representing women of Abim. We've been having Okot Francis. Okot Francis is a man of so many titles, but he is the 34th UNSA Vice President and equally served as the Guild President Gulu University, and also was running in the recent primaries for Member of Parliament Aswa County. And we've been also happy to hear your conversation and inputs in regards to the conversation around the Afro-Arab summit that is happening in Uganda, as well as the independence. 63 years down the road is not an easy road, but nevertheless we thank God that here we are today. From the take home is that young people need to consistently push for spaces that actually amplify their voices, but also it doesn't come easy. Sometimes you need to create those spaces and push harder. Equally, to appreciate the work that is being done in terms of ministries that are coming through to support young people, also creative mindset that still needs another attribution in terms of input. And of course, it's been me, Tracy Lynn Ankunda, that hosts this show. I want to thank the team on the production that makes this happen, and also to thank our viewers, to encourage you to keep following us. And also, this happens every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Thank you so much. See you next time, same place.